Joining us now, Richard Grinnell, the longest-serving United States spokesman at the UN, advising 4 U.S. ambassadors, now a partner with Capital Media Partners. Also the president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, Clifford May, and Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, Fox News contributor Judith Miller. Good to have you all with us. Let me begin with you. What are we to take of this obvious contradiction in the Obama foreign policy? Supporting the Saudi and its allied Arab states in their offensive against the Houthis, the Iranian-supported Shia rebels, and at the same time supporting Iran and the Iranian-led leaders of that offensive against Tikrit. Richard? Rick?
Oh, you're talking to me? I thought you were talking to Judy there. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, look, Judy, what do you think? Go ahead.
Look, I think this is a very big problem, Lou. What we have is not a national security strategy coming out of the White House. This is a campaign promise that was formulated in the cornfields of Iowa. It sounds like a great idea to make this campaign promise to say, I'm going to bring all the troops home, I'm not going to start any wars. But when you start getting intelligence briefings on a daily basis and you see that the capitals in all these Middle East countries are beginning to fall to the Iranians, who are really our enemy. I mean, you look at Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and now Yemen, we really have a major problem, and the president needs to get rid of this campaign promise and get back to a national security strategy.
Judy, you were shaking your head.
Well, as much as I love and respect Rick, I really think that I do not want to see American forces involved in a ground war, or at least 4 different wars going on in Yemen. I mean, this is something that the Saudis have to deal with, and they are dealing it with our support. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, but that really isn't my question. My question is, how can there be such a conflicting, contradictory foreign policy being carried out by this president simultaneously?
Well, I'm not sure it is contradictory, because
to support Iran.
No, we're not supporting Iran. I think what we saw this week, what we've just seen in Iran, is the first time the president has drawn some lines and said,
oh my gosh.
Qasem Soleimani.
Did you really say draw lines?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Qasem Soleimani, you, the leader of the IRGC, the man who is killing Americans in Iraq, you are not going to be anywhere near Tikrit. And he left, and now the price of American aid for American airstrikes
right, Cliff,
will be getting rid of Iran.
Judy doesn't see any contradiction. Do you? Perhaps I'm utterly mistaken on this.
No, it's a clear contradiction to be supporting Iran against its enemies in Iraq and supporting Iran's enemies against Iran in Yemen. It is either an incoherent strategy or no strategy, though I do worry that what the president is attempting to do is get out of the Middle East and turn it over to somebody else, and that, in the end of the day, will be the Iranians. There is this view that because Rouhani is a pragmatist, that must mean he's a moderate. There is a lack of understanding that the supreme leader is today radical. We heard Kerry say today that Iran is different than it was 10 years ago. Iran is every bit as radical and every bit as jihadist as it was 36 years ago when the Islamic Revolution was launched. And we are seeing the Americans get very close to a very, very bad deal that will lead to Iran getting nuclear weapons. And understand what that means. The leading sponsor of terrorism in the world, with our permission, gets nuclear weapons at a time when it is occupying and influencing 4 Arab capitals and plans to occupy and influence more. That is why the Arab states now are frightened. Israel is frightened. I think America is in the position of being a nation that is harmless to its enemies and very treacherous to its friends.
Yeah, following the Kerry comment about Iran being different than 10 years ago, so too is the United States. I think we would agree. This list of nations, if we could put this up, supporting the Saudi offensive against the Houthis and trying to restore the ousted president of Yemen. Just take a look at this. The coalition made up of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Sudan, Egypt, Morocco. Rick, what are we to surmise from this? This is as strong an alliance as I've seen the Arab states form, since Pan-Arab days.
Well, look, I too love Judy, but I have to disagree vigorously, because here we have the Saudis.
I was trying to distract Rick from your effort. Go ahead, Rick.
Listen, we have the Saudis, Lou, who are acting without telling the United States. Today, the Saudi ambassador to the U.S. literally drew a distinction between his allies and the United States. He put us on a different path as an ally. This is a huge problem, especially in Yemen, when we have the civil war that we have going on right now is really a war between Iran and the Saudis, who are trying to control the region. We have one ally in that fight. We should easily pick sides, which is the Saudi side. We should absolutely be doing everything we can to making sure that Iran loses on every single part. This is a no-brainer, and the White House doesn't see it that way.
I would say Rick is entirely correct, and I happened to have dinner with a very senior Arab diplomat last night who made very clear that anything that the U.S. decides to give Iran in terms of nuclear weapons capabilities, they are going to demand as well. Why shouldn't they have the same? Because they understand that Iran intends to be the hegemon, the boss, the bully of the entire region, and they do not like that, and they don't like the idea that the United States is not just allowing that to happen, but maybe empowering that as part of some notion of a detente with Iran. If this deal ends up the way I think it could, Iran gets nuclear weapons, there's a proliferation cascade as many nations in the Middle East get nuclear weapons, and then you have Iran attempting to dominate the region. We're going to see real chaos, not that we're not seeing that now in the Middle East over the years ahead.
Judy, do you agree with that construction, but particularly the headline, that as a result of this negotiation, Iran gets nuclear weapons?
I think it's going to be very hard to stop the Iranians from acquiring a nuclear weapon.
Really?
Very hard, no matter what, without an agreement. The question is, what is the impact on our allies? What is the impact on the Saudis? And I think we are helping the Saudis in the fight against the Iranians in Yemen. But at the same time, we have to fight ISIS in Iraq. And yes, sometimes you have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. The problem with this administration is that they don't do either very well.
With that,
I'm not
Judy,
resigned,
thanks so
Lou.
much. And Rick, I'm sorry, we're way over, but I appreciate it. Rick, good to have you here. Cliff,
Sure.
thank you. Judy, thank you.